Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. Thank you for joining me here on a nice Wednesday morning. I hope everybody's doing well and having a good week and had a good last week. We are going to catch up with a lot of things. But first, I'll just say, thanks for joining me. I appreciate the support. I was out last week. I went to Canada, my home and native land, to do a charity event in Markham, Ontario for Hockey Helps the Homeless. I haven't done one in a while, and it was good to kind of get back in the saddle. And I forgot how fun they were, first of all, but I forgot the kind of the pressures that go along with, playing hockey. I've just been, doing my men's league every Sunday night, and it's a lot of fun. And you go to these charity events, and it's a weird, situation. It's a paradox, a paradigm, because you do these events and you want to make sure everybody has fun. First of all, it's for a good event. You're raising money for a local food bank or a local, homeless charity that, helps the homeless, a great cause. But at the end of the day, the people who are playing in the event are not homeless. They want to have a good time. They want to be entertained. And at the end of the day, they're hockey players. And they want to win, and they want to score goals, and they compete, and they're competitive. As the professional on their team, each team drafts a professional, you feel this responsibility to perform. But you have to toe this line, and it's a weird mental gymnastics that you have to go through, because you don't want to try too hard, because then you're the jerk who just scores every time or takes it too serious and someone gets hurt and nobody has a good time. And then nobody wants you invited back. And then that ruins the event for everybody. But on the other side of the coin, you don't want to not try hard enough and be the guy who thinks he's better than everybody. And everybody hates you that way. And so I was caught in between this rock and hard place during this tournament, because the pro I played against the first game went all out and was scoring and was playing hard and was just all over the ice. And I didn't know what to do. And then the second game, that pro was an older guy and he didn't really do much, just kind of skate around and have a good time. And my team started to get upset at me because I wasn't trying hard enough. And I was getting upset at myself because, well, you got to turn it on now. And then when I tried to turn it on, something happened, and it was a weird situation. And of course, everything is amplified when you go to Canada. And I was just thinking, if this happened in another city, in another state, would this be an issue? Would they even care, or would they just kind of realize the overarching theme of the event is for charity at the end of the day? But guys were getting in like scuffles after the whistle. There was almost fights happening. And keep in mind, this is, a Friday afternoon in a random rink in Markham, and no one's watching, and they're taking it that serious. So you gotta applaud, the passion for the game. But boy, it's a tough kind of tightrope to walk. And it just got me thinking, the Toronto Maple Leafs, for as much as I critique them, and as much as the media, gives them a hard time, it's got to be difficult, right? And I know you put yourself in this situation, but for the majority of these guys on the Toronto Maple Leafs, they were drafted into this situation. They don't have any other choice. The Toronto Maple Leafs selected them. They are their property, good, bad, or otherwise. This is what they have to deal with every single day. And for, a third line guy, a fourth line guy, it's okay. You don't have to deal with it too much. But for the stars who are in the spotlight night in and night out, this is a type of thing that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And you can't just turn it off. It's not like playing in another market or playing in another sport where you can just unplug and go away. In Toronto, hockey is number one. It's number one, it's number two, it's maybe Blue Jays are number three. But from my childhood up until now, for my 43 years on the earth, the Leafs have always been the biggest ticket in Toronto. So I'm starting to sympathize with these guys, and it took this little charity event last week in Markham at the Angus Glen Community Center when I was getting kind of picked apart by my team saying, you need to score. You need to do more. Let's go. Let's go. We need more out of you. And I'm just like, you guys, I can't. Either maybe it's not in the bag, I don't have it anymore, but I don't want to be the jerk who goes around trying to do something, and then I hurt a 70-year-old guy on the other team because I'm trying to score. That's not what we're here for. And then I do that, just say I do that, and then I end up scoring, then the other team hates me because I'm trying too hard, or my team hates me because I'm not passing them the puck enough. So it's damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I know the Toronto Maple Leafs is a totally different situation, but I felt it an iota of compassion for them. You know, and that brings me to today's topic. I'm going to talk about Canadian teams. So if you don't like talking about Canadian teams, now is the time to bow out. And I know I had a big show about the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple weeks ago about how their so-called non-dynasty is already over. I'm here to maybe rectify that situation because, gosh, are they in the press a lot, especially the last few weeks, and rightfully so. Like I mentioned 2 seconds ago, they are arguably the biggest franchise in the NHL. They're obviously the most, they drive the most money. They make hands down the most money year on year for the NHL. They drive that ship. So with that comes with a lot of attention, a lot of responsibility, heavy as the hat that wears the crown. But is it unwarranted? The heat that they're getting to start this season? Is it just Toronto Maple Leafs blowing things out of proportion? Because when you look at the standings right now, it's not as dire as everybody seems. They won last night. They beat the St. Louis Blues, so they got out of that 5-game losing skid. They're, I know, at the bottom of the standings in the East, but like everybody has talked about, if they go on a run and they win a few games, they go from being 15th in the East to potentially being 3rd. Right now, they sit at 20 points. The 3rd place team in the Eastern Conference has 25 points. So that means 12 teams, everybody, are within 5 points. So it would not surprise me in the slightest that we show up the first week of December and Toronto is the top of the Atlantic Division. Everything's fine. They're on a 5-game heater. And nobody's talking about rebuild. Nobody's talking about firing Craig Berube. Nobody's talking about any of these subjects. Because that's how tight the Eastern Conference is right now. And that's how a minor upswing or a minor downswing can just throw a fan base into a frenzy. So I just want to say to everyone out there who is calling for the head of Craig Berube, who is calling for this team to be dismantled, and this is crazy coming from me because I'm usually, public enemy number one when it comes to coming after these Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just take a deep breath because they're not in that bad of a situation. When you look at this team as a whole, after last season, they had some major upheavals, and we went through that a couple weeks ago, so I'm not going to get into that. But everybody's getting all over these guys. Oh, we need them to do more. Oh, we had the change, and we brought in these young guys. We need the older guys to do more. No, we don't. Tavares is playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play. Willie Nylander's playing fantastic hockey. I think he might be, aside from John Tavares, the most important player on this team right now. Those two guys are playing lights out. OEL is playing great hockey. Morgan Rielly, I know he's prone to mistakes. He's still a really good defenseman. Is he a 1A? No, I don't think he's ever been a 1A. But he's a really good NHL defenseman. Austin Matthews, he could do more. But he's having a pretty solid season when he's healthy. So the guys who have been there a long time, they're doing their job. They're doing what they need to do. It's the guys who they brought in, these young guys, this replacement guys, the Nicholas Waugh, the Lorenz, the Dakota Joshua, all of these guys, even a Max Domi. I know he's been there a few years. A Michelli, a Carlo. These are the guys who need to play better. And I don't know if it's a case of they're just not gelling, they're not finding the line mates, they're having a hard time with Craig Berube's system, or they're just not good enough to be in the NHL. I don't know. But when you look at the underlying stats and you just do the eye test, it's the newcomers that need to pick it up. It's these guys who are really struggling and not, playing up to par for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're not the reason maybe they're losing every single game, but they're sure as hell not the reason why they're winning. So all of this critique going at the Toronto Maple Leafs and this and that, oh, we got to rebuild, we got to strip it down, we got rid of the wrong guy of the core four, which I agree with. They should have kept Mitch Marner. I think we need to just pump the brakes. When you look at the overarching theme of this season, it's been injury, injury, injury. They haven't had a full lineup. Gosh, for maybe 1 or 2 games they've had a full lineup. When you look at the guys who are out, it's Nicholas Waugh won't play. He's got an upper body injury. Scott Lawton's got an upper body injury. He's not playing. Brandon Carlo, lower body. He's got an unknown timeline. Austin Matthews, lower body. He just started skating yesterday, so there's a glimmer of hope there. Chris Tanev, he's got an upper body injury. Stolarz, he's got an upper body injury. These aren't like the lower half of this lineup, everybody. This is 3 of their top 4 centers gone, 2 of their top 4 defensemen gone, and their top goaltender coming into the season gone. You tell me another team in the league that loses their 3 of their top 4 centermen, 2 of their top 4 defensemen, and their top goaltender. You tell me a team that would be succeeding and winning in this situation. You'd be hard-pressed to find one that has that kind of depth, that can compete, that can come out of this situation and still be a 500 hockey team, which the Toronto Maple Leafs are right now. They're 9-9-2. And I would love to come out and say, oh yeah, let's burn it to the ground. Let's go. But I'm looking at the way the Toronto Maple Leafs are made up from the top down. Brendan Shanahan got fired 2 years ago now. He was the president of that team since 2014, I believe. They did not replace him with the president. They pretty much gave the keys to the kingdom to Brad Treliving. Do you think he's going to come in as a new GM and just start a rebuild? Not a chance in the world. That would immediately get him fired if he started to tinker with things. Because should they? Probably. Yeah. Because it's crazy when I think about this situation in Toronto. It's crazy to think of all the pundits and all the talking heads going, it's time to rebuild. It's time to break it all down. We got to restart from scratch. Those thoughts and mindsets are usually reserved for teams that have won multiple championships, that have been to the dance, that have even had a chance to win a Stanley Cup. The idea of breaking it down and rebuilding are for teams that have had success. And when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have had 0 success, you guys, and you know this and I know this, but they live in this rarefied era where everything just seems more important for the Toronto Maple Leafs, so everybody has to put these dramatic words on it. This wouldn't be a rebuild or a retool. This would just be them trying to succeed, which they haven't done in the last decade. They've got 1 playoff win. They are on par with the Utah Mammoth or those types of teams. This isn't a successful team. So the fact that we're even going through this just shows you how important Toronto is to the media and to the NHL, because they've done nothing. They do not merit this type of attention based on their talent on the ice and their results, but here we are. But for those people who think they're going to rebuild, I don't think Treliving has the stones to do this. Because when you look at the other teams who have done their rebuild, quote unquote, you look at the Boston Bruins. Rebuild. Got rid of Marchand. Got rid of Carlo. Got rid of everybody else. Bertuzzi, Orlov, all these other guys. Cleaned house. Charlie Coyle. That's a rebuild. And now they're playing good hockey and they're seeing results right now. They're already seeing positive results from that rebuild, which took a 1-year downturn, and now here we are. They're back to being a winning team, to playing Boston Bruins hockey. The Florida Panthers, they did a rebuild on the fly. Got rid of Jonathan Huberdeau. Ditched him for Matthew Tkachuk. That is a big seismic rebuild. That is taking a team that was a President's Trophy champion and going, not good enough. We have to change this team. And now they've won 2 straight Stanley Cups, gone to 3 straight Stanley Cup championships. That's a rebuild. The Las Vegas Golden Knights do it every single year, for Pete's sake. And they've won championships. They've been to the dance. Those GMs have the stones for change. They go out and make a difference. Then you have the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, they tinker around the perimeter. they do these little changes. I don't think he's got it. I don't think he has it. Dubas didn't have it. Babcock, Shanahan, all those guys didn't have it. They wanted to, keep status quo. We don't want to rock the ship. So that's why I don't think they're going to go into a full-fledged rebuild. Should they? Maybe. Probably. I don't think these guys will ever win a championship. But for this season, for 20 games in, for all the criticism that they're getting, for all the heat that they're taking, I just think we need to take a breath. I don't think they're playing terrible hockey. Yes, I do think maybe they got to, bear down on defense a little bit. They got to, maybe set some examples on the front end. Maybe Berube needs to sit some guys down, because I'll tell you what, and I was talking about this past week. Everyone always asks at these charity events, who was the best coach you played for? Who was the best this, that, and the other thing? Why were they the best coach you played for? And, I might take some criticism for this, but the best coach that I played for was Joe Quenneville. I had him 2 years in Chicago. And I tell you what, there's a reason why Anaheim's successful right now. Yes, the young guys are starting to play better. Joe Quenneville should get a lot of accolades for what he's doing with the Anaheim Ducks right now. And I know there's, whatever there, but he's doing a hell of a job coaching that team. They're playing great hockey, and we'll touch on them in another episode. But they always ask, who's your best coach and why? And I say it's Joe Quenneville. Hands down, unequivocally. With a very close second to Jacques Lemaire, who I had in Minnesota, who was just a really, really solid, good, fantastic players coach, knew the game, made it really simple to play for. But Joe Quenneville always gets my nod because, yes, he was a players coach, but he was also, a hard-nosed, hard-ass coach. And he held guys accountable. And the one thing I loved about him is he did not treat you based on your salary. He was across the board fair in how he doled out his punishment. And everybody was held to the same criteria, where if you're not going to back check, if you're not going to forecheck, if you won't do the things that I want you to do, I will bench you. And that happened on multiple situations. We'd be in a game and just say Sharpie wasn't doing the things you wanted to do. Sharpie, get in on the forecheck. Sharpie's not forechecking tonight. He would bench Patrick Sharp. He would bench Patrick Kane. He would bench the high-end guys. And to even drive the point more, he would promote guys from the third and fourth line to take their spot. So I distinctly remember games where I would play on Hossa and Taves' line for a period. And I would sit there and I'd come back to the bench and I would give Kaner the stink eye, like, suck this, buddy. Like, this is great. Don't you feel dumb for not wanting to back check or complaining about your spot on the power play or bitching to the coaches about, your offensive zone time or where you're starting your faceoffs at. Don't you feel silly? Now you get to watch big dumb me playing in your position and just making this game look terrible. Congratulations. I don't think Craig Berube can do that. Because 2 points. I don't think the players would respond. Because when Quenneville would do that to those top guys, and it would happen 3, 4, 5 times a season, they would respond. And they had 2 options as a superstar. You can either take that criticism and then move on from it and learn from it, or you can take that benching as a slight to you and get real bitchy and don't learn anything from it, and then you blame the coach and you complain and moan and then spiral. And it creates an even worse situation. So that's the 2 options there. And thankfully, none of the high-end guys on Chicago would ever do that. They would just suck it up, realize they made a mistake, and move on from it. Yes, would they make that mistake again? Probably. But it took a long time for them to make that mistake. In Toronto, do you think guys learn from getting benched in Toronto? No, I don't think they do. Do you think they would resent the coach and there would be an issue in the locker room? I think there absolutely would. And this is the underlying problem why they won't succeed. So you can do whatever you want. And yes, they had success last year. And I watched Tree Living's press conference this morning where he was saying, we have we have success. We had success last year, and everybody was buying in, but you can't carry that over from year to year. I'm just thinking, why can't you carry that over from year to year? And I go, oh, it's because the players don't buy in. It's because the players don't want to do it on a consistent basis. Yes, they can do it, periodically from time to time for a couple weeks at a time, but on a whole, you cannot change that player. And those players are Nylander, they're Matthews. Those are the guys. On the back end, Morgan Riley's not a solid defenseman. He's a great guy, but you can't change that of this team. Max Domi's always going to be Max Domi. Johnny T is always going to be Johnny T. And it is what it is. He said there's areas of improvement. They ask him, what do you need to improve on? He goes everywhere, a lot. He starts defensively. So he knows the issues, and good for him. He took full responsibility. He said, this is my team. It all starts with me. But you can't really change that. So moving on, the coaches, I don't think Berube can change anything that's happening with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He can try. I don't think the message will get through. I think he knows that, and it will just cause more issues than it's worth doing. You know what I mean? He can bench Austin Matthews. He can bench Nylander. He can bench all these guys. Will it have the results that he wants? Probably not. But maybe he should try. And then, in the meantime, Tree Living should probably, I don't know, get rid of Joshua, get rid of Michelli, get rid of Wah, get rid of Carlo. That would be the rebuild that I'd be for. You're not going to get rid of the top guys, but you have to start somewhere. But I would wait. I would hold until everyone gets back, everyone gets healthy. You can see what this team's made out of. And then at the deadline, you make a move. But the idea that you're going to break it down and rebuild this team and trade everybody and fire your coach and start again, it's asinine. It's just laughable. And all these people clamoring for it and all these fans and all these pundits saying, it's time, it's time, it's time. It's not time. It's not time. And I'm the first one who would love to see it, but let's just give these guys some runway. Austin Matthews is hurt. Stolars is hurt. Carlo, Tanev, Lawton, Roy, everybody. It's a who's who of this team that's hurt. Once everybody's back and they're back to full strength, and give them a couple weeks, and if they still struggle, then we talk about that in the offseason. But for now, let's let Toronto be, give them a little bit of time, and we'll see where we're at. Because we all know that they'll make the playoffs. This team's too good to not make the playoffs. And the standings are too close to write them off. So it's all hysteria right now. Now turn the page to Edmonton. I feel completely opposite about this team, the Edmonton Oilers. I've watched a lot of the Oilers this season. And, I've been very quiet about this team. 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. Obviously, the 2 best players on the planet, arguably, the 97 and 29. Currently, right now, they sit out of a playoff spot. They're 11th in the West. Much like the Eastern Conference, it's very tight. The West is fun this year, isn't it? Other than Colorado, who is just a juggernaut, by the way, they played 19 games. They've lost 1 game in regulation. Wrap your head around that. They've lost 1 regulation game, the Colorado Avalanche, who are just fantastic. They have not lost a regulation game at home. They're that good of a hockey team. But other than the Avalanche, everybody's pretty solid. Gone are the days when you have the basement dwellers. I guess Calgary would fit in that criteria now. They're just having a terrible, terrible season. But I like the Predators. The Blues are showing signs of improvement. The Canucks, as much as I hate them, they're a tough team to beat, and the Sharks are playing just outrageous hockey. Celebrini could be the best player on the planet right now if it wasn't for Connor Bedard. It's a fun game to watch. Anyways, the Edmonton Oilers. I gave the Toronto Maple Leafs a pass. I said, you know what? Injuries, let's let them get settled. Then I'll reserve my judgment until then. I have my judgment on the Edmonton Oilers. And it's tough to have this opinion because, like I said, 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7. This team is a juggernaut. This team is built to succeed. They've shown it. They've proven it the last 2, 3, 4 years. They're done, you guys. This team is absolutely done. And I don't have any other way to say it that this is their own doing. And I completely blame Stan Bowman. I completely blame Peter Chiarelli. And who was the other guy? The guy from Detroit, whatever the hell his name is. Ken Holland. This is all they're doing. And it starts solely on the back end. This is it. I'm blaming this 100% on the defense, and I'm blaming this 100% on the goaltender, and I'm blaming this 100% on Chris Knobloch. Those are the three areas where this team is absolutely atrocious. And everybody goes, oh, they're not scoring enough goals, this and that. They need more grade A chances. No. This is the coach, this is the goalie, and this is the defense. That's it. That's why this team sucks so bad. And watching the last game they played versus the Buffalo Sabres, where they lost 5-1, that was the final nail in the coffin of this team. And I'm sorry to say this, but Darnell Nurse, you know what? I'm not sorry to say this. I think he needs to hear this. So if you're a friend of Darnell Nurse, link him this podcast and specifically link this part of the podcast. It's like 25 minutes in. Darnell Nurse sucks at hockey. That's it. That's it. He is so incredibly bad. It's hard to watch. It is hard to watch. I know Evan Bouchard is having a very bad season, and there's a lot of things wrong with his game. But Darnell Nurse, Evan Nurse, Bouchard gets a pass sometimes because his offensive game makes up for it. His in-zone play, his puck, moving, his decision-making sometimes isn't there. But then at the end of the game, he's got 2 assists. He's got maybe whatever. He makes up for it on the offensive end. Darnell Nurse sucks, and we're going to break down this game versus the Sabres. And I know a lot of you probably didn't watch it, but they lost 5-1. The first 3 goals were all because of Darnell Nurse. The first goal, it's a simple play. The Sabres player goes behind the net. He's being tracked by the other defenseman, Jake Wallman. Wallman stops pursuing him behind the net, like every defenseman is taught to do from the day they put skates on. You don't chase a guy behind the net. Ever, ever, ever. You retreat to the front of the net, and your partner picks him up on the opposite side. As soon as he hits the back of the net, the other partner knows that's my guy now. And you transition, and then it's just an easy switch. Day one defense, that's what you learn. Nurse, for whatever reason, doesn't do it. He just sits in front of the net with his guy. And he ends up bumping into Jake Wallman, and he's marking his guy, who is now Jake Wallman's guy. And the guy wheeling behind the net goes, what the hell is going on? I have all this time in the world. So he's allowed to just circle the net, come to the faceoff dot, nobody's touching him, and he fires a shot in the net. Because Skinner is being screened by 3 guys now. And the guy who has the puck is just sitting there, unmolested, allowed to just dust it off, pick a corner. It's an easy goal for an NHL player to score. That's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is on the PK. Another thing you learn, day one as a defenseman when you're on the PK, you have to play the 2-on-1. If the puck is on the half wall, the forward who has the puck, he wants to tease you and entice you to come out higher. Come and get me, come and get me. As a defenseman, you have to be disciplined. You have to play the guy with the puck on the half wall, well knowing there's a guy on the goal line that you have to guard him too. So you try to take that pass away, but the more important play is to take away the pass to the middle of the ice or the shot. Once that puck goes low, you have to stop that guy from getting to the net. It's very simple to do. You just don't get too high out on the guy who's at the top of the circle, hash mark area along the boards. Darnell Nurse, for whatever reason, is an idiot and just rips out to this guy who's got the puck on the half wall. He easy peasy sends it down to the goal line. The guy walks to the net and scores. It's just like, what are we doing, Darnell? You've been in the league for 10 years. How the hell are you not aware of this play? It's just nuts. And then the third goal, it boggles my mind, where it's just, when things scramble as a defenseman, you find your guy and it's man on man. Darnell Nurse gets puck watching. It's a shot on net, and he follows the puck like a little lost puppy dog, trying to get to the puck. This is like watching kids in novice. Everybody's circling the puck. That's not how you play hockey in the NHL. You have to stay in your zone and trust that your defenseman has his area. The centerman has his area. You control your area. Lo and behold, he follows that puck after the shot to the area where his partner already is. And again, he's standing beside Jake Wallman. And the puck gets over to his guy that he should have been in that area. And the guy goes, thank you, to a wide open net. and it's 3-1, the game's over, and Edmonton sucks still. So the problems that Edmonton have, they're real. And they aren't going away. It's not like Toronto where you can go, goaltending has been subpar. There's been injury issues. We haven't had a chance to gel cohesively. No, this problem with the Edmonton Oilers, it's systematic. They're not losing because of injuries or bad luck. They're just a bad hockey team. They're not attacking well. They're not defending well. They're not getting any grade A chances. And yes, their defense sucks. Yes, their goaltending sucks. But at the end of the day, the coaches put the players on the ice. The coaches are the ones who pull the string. And when you look at the Oilers and how they play the game these days, you can tell there's been a system change. They're emphasizing getting the puck to the defenseman more in the offensive zone. They're emphasizing more of a balanced attack. They're emphasizing dumping the puck in and grinding it out and going low to high and trying to get shots on net. That's not who the Oilers are. That's not their strength. And you would think after coming within a hair of the Stanley Cup the last 2 years, you would double down with what got you there. But no, they get rid of Paul Coffey on the back end. I think that was a terrible move. I think he doled out his defensemen and put them in good positions to succeed. Darnell Nurse sucks. Incredibly bad. Bouchard's playing the worst hockey he's ever played in his NHL. At even strength, because of all those systems changes, they're giving up more chances than they've ever given up, ever. And the Oilers have never been a strong NHL team. Gone are the days when they used to outchance their team because Connor McDavid would fly up and down the ice, and then you'd have Draisaitl, and you'd have Hyman, and you'd have the Nuge, and you'd have all these fun, exciting guys going up and down the ice. I know it was top heavy end. The top two lines were incredible, but at least you had incredible play. Now they look uninspired. They look bored. They almost look annoyed at times because they have to play this Chris Knoblauch type hockey. It's not fun to watch, and you can tell from looking at these guys that they don't like it. You can look at Connor McDavid and realize there's a change. Yes, maybe there's fatigue. 3 straight years of long playoff runs, 2 especially long ones, as long as they can go. Maybe there's a little bit of fatigue there and they're just trying to get to the playoffs. But boy, oh boy, you guys, if that's their idea and that's what they're trying to do, I don't think this team makes the playoffs. Based on how they're playing the first 20 games of the season, this isn't something where you can just flip a switch. The West is too strong. You're not deep enough like you were in years past. You don't have, the third and fourth line depth that you had last year or the year before. Their fourth line is laughable. Their third line doesn't compete. I love the pickup of Jack Roslovic. I think he's been their best player the last 2 weeks of the season. But you don't have the luxury of outscoring teams anymore. If your defensive zone is crappy and your goaltender sucks and your forwards are not invested and they're out to lunch, especially your top 2 guys, I know Zach Hyman's back, but if you don't have everybody buying in and they're bored and they're just trying to get to the playoffs, it's over. So I know it's crazy to say, but the team that hasn't won anything for the last decade, I am more confident in them than I am with the team that has made the Stanley Cup Finals to Game 7 for the last 2 years. I truly believe that. I truly think the Oilers need to do something major to just get them out of this funk. Whether it's Knoblauch being fired, whether it's, these guys being traded or benched or whatever, I don't know what you can do with this team. But the way it's made right now, it doesn't work. And it starts, like I said, on the back end. Bouchard, Nurse, Ekholm, Wallman, all of them are just not playing good enough. Skinner is playing terrible. Picard is awful. And that's where you need to focus all of your attention. I know there's issues up front, but it's Knoblauch, it's the defense, and it's the goaltenders. It's not good enough for where the bar is set for these guys. So I don't know what to tell you. If the season, if I'm guessing for game 82 where everyone's at, I think Toronto's second in the Atlantic, and I think the Oilers are a bottom 5 team in the Western Conference. That's where I see them ending up right now. With the likes of the Blues, the Flames, the Sharks, the Canucks. That's where they live. I don't think they're as good as the Mammoth. I don't think they're as good as the Wild. You know what? They might not be as good as the Sharks. How fun and exciting that team has been and how on an upswing they are. They might not be as good as the San Jose Sharks. So they need to right the ship quick. They need to do something drastic to change this team around. Maybe getting Zach coming back will help, but I don't think it does. I think you need to make a drastic change and trade somebody, shake up the roster, do something. Get rid of Bouchard, get rid of Nurse, do whatever you can to just jog that back end because holy hell, it ain't working. On that note, you know what is working, you guys. Thank you for the support. We got another interview coming out this week. I appreciate everything. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm wrong sometimes, but hey, I'm usually right, so suck on those. Suck on that, everybody. Cheers. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.